All right, so I wanted to get on here and talk about my MMA journey and how it's going so far because they've just announced my opponent. I don't know the person, I don't personally know who the person is. The coach does on both gyms because we basically have a gym versus gym thing going on. Anyone who doesn't know about the Train Alta Program, it's supposed to be couch to cage. You're supposed to have had no experience and then you go into a fight with another person with no experience. And each gym has a certain amount of people and they match them up within the state. This is a worldwide program though, which is pretty cool. And it's actually Conor McGregor's coach. Think about him what you want, but Conor McGregor's coach, he's great. John Kavanagh, he's the co-founder of this. So yeah, great program to get yourself into MMA. I've always loved the game. I've always wanted to be involved in it, but I always thought I was too old. So I'm very thankful for this program to get me involved because now I am. That'll be it. I'll be here for a long time. But what's been happening is the coach knows who I'm fighting, and I wanted to get down to welterweight because now I've been waking up around 82, and that's with like 10 grams of creatine in my body every single day. So with I'm pretty muscular, so with my build I would have at least 3 kilos of creatine, if not more. So you could drop myself down to 79. So to get to 77.4, whatever it was, kilos, it would have been quite easy. That would be barely a weight cut. But because of my age, when the matchmaker came down from Sydney, we were in the middle of sparring and stuff, and he goes, "Alex Jansen?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "How old are you?" I said, 41. And he goes, "Okay, you're middleweight." And I said, "I'm only 80. Oh no," he said, "How much do you weigh?" I said, 83. He goes, "You're middleweight." Now, we have a 500 gram allowance on the scales, which means I could have got up to about 84.9. So that means I'd had to put on weight in order to just make middleweight. But whatever, I understand they don't want people cutting weight and stuff. And I told him I want to get down to welterweight. He said, "Doesn't matter. You're physically strong enough. You're built. You're fine." So whatever. Coach did tell me, still stick to the plan. We're going to get me to 80 kilos by June, which is coming up in the next couple of days. But once they announced that my opponent, a few days ago, or the coach said to me, they're going to opponent, I said, "Is he middleweight?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Don't worry, you stick to it." I couldn't help myself. I started eating some of the foods, all healthy stuff, but it wasn't calorie counting, because even if with just the natural sweating and stuff, I'll be down at about 81, I would say, at least, even without the creatine cup. So I'll be sitting around a welterweight anyway. That's what my body type should be with my height. I'm only 180 centimeters, 180 centimeters. So yeah, most of the dudes in my training room are around 6'3", who are my weight, 6'2", 6'3". I don't have any problems with them anyway. But yeah, so they've announced him. I didn't ask many other questions. It is whatever. But unfortunately, the dude is 46 years old. So I was a little bit disappointed because I've been training with guys from 16 all the way up until 28. So we had a few other guys who I think are in their 30s, but then they didn't survive. They didn't stay. For whatever reason, they didn't stay with the program. So I think there's about 6 to 8 left from 19 or something that signed up. But yeah, and not everyone will be fighting either. They've still got to try and find you an opponent and match you correctly. So I've got my match, and I'm not going to lie, I was disappointed he's 46, but maybe he's a savage. He better be, because I'm competitive and I'm dogged and I'm not giving up. So I'm either going to run through this guy or it's going to be a really good fight. The training room tells me enough, and I know who I am. I used to be an athlete when I was a kid, but that all went by the wayside. So now this is my outlet, and that same competitive spirit when I was a kid is coming out, and I love it. It's like you hang around people, doing this sort of thing, and it reinvigorates you. And then obviously with my age, you have to then look after your diet and nutrition. I'm a completely natural athlete. I've never done any type of performance enhancers like steroids or TRT or peptides like a lot of people my age do when they go to the gym, let alone be athletic. First of all, it's illegal in a fight, but I know in amateurs people could get away with it. I'm not doing it. I've always relied on nature. I'm a big believer in it. I just got my blood work done not too long ago, a couple of months ago, and my cortisol was really high, or my and then my testosterone was. So, and I just naturally, by getting a bit more sleep, training, I naturally changed it quite significantly with Mother Nature. I'm not going to give all my secrets away, but I take a lot of superfoods. in order to balance myself out, as well as eating healthy. And when I say eating healthy, lots of extra virgin olive oil, which isn't good for weight cutting. Beef tallow, lean beef, all grass-fed, everything pretty much organic that I eat. Quite simple. Lots of fermented foods and stuff. So yeah, I'm really into gut health and really into healthy, good nutrition. But again, I learned a lot from the weight cut that, smashing a lot of coconut water and extra virgin olive oil each day isn't going to help you with that. So there is a bit of a blessing that I'm going to be fighting a naturally bigger guy. And I trust my coach. He knows what I can do. And if he says I can fight a middleweight when I'm closer to a welterweight, then I can. One good thing is the actual fight is quite far away. It's on the other side of the city from where I am. And quite far on the other side of the city, the west side in Geelong. And then they're doing the weigh-ins on the Friday. So we have a Saturday-Sunday split for the fights. They've split it into 2 days like they did in Sydney, because the fight, there's too many fights for one card. And then they've got the weigh-ins Friday for the Saturday, and then the weigh-in Saturday for Sunday. I'm not sure which day I'm fighting, but our coach negotiated same-day weigh-ins, which actually works well for me. It means this guy can't cut any more weight. At the end of the day, I don't really care who I fight. You get interested at first, but then I'm at peace with it. In my mind, I'm 100% going to win, but I also know it's a fight. He could win. Good on him if he does. He better be good, because I'm coming in like a bull. And I know who I am. I know. And I guess that comes with age, confidence, and also I'm putting a lot into the training room. I will be honest, I've had a few injuries. And they've stopped me having a few training sessions, but I go in and watch as well. I watch, and you learn a lot watching. And I got back in, so I had a bit of a cauliflower ear forming, so I got that drained and stitched and anyway, that's been a bit of a process for 3 weeks, refilling up, getting drained again. That's it for that. I wore the headgear, and the doctor said realistically you shouldn't be fighting if you wanted to heal properly. So after I heard that, I was like, no, I'm going back in. I started sprinting again and doing all my stuff that I hadn't done for the 10 days of the last stitch, because I have to be in shape, what's the point otherwise? So I started that, even though he said it could fill back up, seemed to be okay. And then, went to a training session on Saturday, wore the headgear, which is protecting the ear. It got bruised a little bit, but it's not too bad. So it was good to get back in the training room, and it shows me that watching did actually help with learning as well, because I could implement a couple of things. One that my one of my training partners showed me specifically recently, with just some drill work, and then also coaches showing me a couple of things. So we have our basics that we're going for as specific fight game plans, let's say. We all have our basics, and then we have what we're good at, whether it's wrestling, striking, jiu-jitsu, whatever. And then it's just adding a couple more things. And for me personally, looking from the side and saving my body as an older person from injury has actually been very effective, because it worked well yesterday. And I'm against young guns in the gym. These guys know how to fight. A lot of them have experience. This whole couch to cage thing isn't correct. I think that's why they changed the name to Train Alta. Some dudes have years of striking experience, years jiu-jitsu. So I don't know what my training partner my opponent has, but whatever. I don't care. The great thing about MMA, there's always an answer to a new question, and it's a complete thing. At first I was getting punched in the face, and not so much anymore. I still get punched in the face, but not as brutally, let's say, because the great equalizer is grappling in MMA. And for grappling, the great equalizer is striking. So what a great sport. I also think that having, a bit of a rougher upbringing does help. I wouldn't say that just, see red bro, that whole thing gets you good into a fight, into the training room, it means you can fight. No, it doesn't. But getting the stakes aren't as high. You've put yourself through highly stressful situations. So I think you can think, I personally believe you can think a bit clearer. I think that every person who's found themselves in, what young men do when they're growing up, street fights and, fights everywhere. There's aggressive people out there. I think that every person, if they're finding themselves in a situation where they're getting in a lot of fights or a lot of trouble, whether on receiving end or giving end, get into a gym. It's going to help. In general, it's going to help, because it makes you realize that a trained fighter generally is going to fuck you right up. That's just the end result. There's obviously exceptions to the rule, but me now compared to who I was 4 months ago, I would literally grab that guy and I would just baby him on the ground and do what I want with him. I used to be so tense, you know. I had to defend myself. I moved from an area in the city to an outer area in high school after the parents broke up, and yeah, I didn't grow up in that area, so I copped a bit of shit, you know, and I had to defend myself. And by no means was I the toughest guy in the area. I never claimed to be, but I knew how to handle myself. And I got in a lot of fights, unfortunately, but got enough respect in the end to not be a victim. And a lot of the bullies, let's say, I'm actually somewhat friends with now anyway, and everyone's going through their own thing as a kid, but I wish I had gone to a gym earlier. I think that's the answer to a lot of young men's problems, mentally, physically, and the confidence you get from it is quite important. For women too, you know, self-defense is a very important part of my life. I would like to always be to know I can defend myself, and it doesn't mean I have to be the toughest guy in the room. That's not what I'm trying to aim to do. It's to be able to just feel confident with myself. And again, being in a gym now, you realize how vulnerable you were. So I was very lucky through all the trouble that I used to get into. That I didn't go to jail. You know, some of my friends did. Not that I was the worst person, but definitely could have happened. I've been in a few blues, as we call them in Australia, where could have been the other way, you know. I've been with friends who've been glassed, and I know of people who've lost eyes and all sorts of stuff, you know. My best friend when I was a kid got stabbed and killed. So gang violence has been something I've been privy to from a young age, and I'm very thankful that I got out of it and matured enough to not put myself in these situations. I think women would gain a lot if they feel nervous about, you know, men and how they could be exploited. I think specifically not the traditional martial arts that you would go into that are quite popular in a country like Australia, like karate and kung fu, and I think kickboxing is good, of course. Muay Thai, very effective martial type of martial art, you know, in terms of striking. You can't really beat it. Boxing's close, but yeah, and kickboxing, but Muay Thai's the one. But again, if you get somebody who's 100 kilos and you're 60, they take you down, you're a fish out of water. So for me, I would recommend jiu-jitsu to anybody who doesn't feel like they've got the weight advantage. It's very hard to go against any jiu-jitsu practitioner with no experience. Even me, you know, 3 months experience with different types of MMA. When the brown belts get hold of me, you know it. You know it, even a blue belt. And you take some coaching to know what to do in those situations to not get submitted or completely dominated. And in a real life scenario, I think that would be working the best for somebody who doesn't have the weight advantage. So yeah, I think the gym has been going really well for me. I really look forward to the progress, and it's interesting because when I first got into this, I wanted just to fight. I wanted to, like, you know, experience it. I've loved the sport since I was 15. When there was some VCRs, I'm showing my age now, came into my best friend's room from his cousin Rhett. My best friend at the time was Cody, still one of my best friends now. And yeah, we got these VCRs. It was Hoist Gracie. It was like the dudes, you know, Tank Abbott, Vitor Belfort coming in, Ken Shamrock, all these people that were pioneers of the sport. But it really showed that grappling was the superior martial art, and I was fascinated by it. It was back when it was one martial art versus the other. Now it's not. But yeah, I was fascinated by it, and I've always been into the sport. So it is somewhat like the Matrix. You can say to yourself, I've watched the sport, therefore I know a little bit, because theory does work in practice somewhat. Not entirely, of course, but I have learned at quite a rapid rate. You know, I think age does come into play, but learning at a rapid rate wouldn't have been possible without just loving the sport and immersing myself into it, listening to the commentary. I mean, the way people love AFL football here is the way I love MMA. Same with, you know, baseball or NFL or basketball overseas. It's all football, soccer, you know. That's the sort of passion I put in. I watch all the interviews, I follow the fighters, I do all that. So you do pick up some things, and it's not much, but you don't need that much in order to have some of the basics down. So yeah, it's been great for me training at this pace for a fight specifically. I've now come to terms with the fact I don't want to just fight somebody. which is coming up on July 4th, and I don't even really care about the fight if I win or lose. In my mind, I'm 100% winning, as I've said, but I don't really care if I win or lose. I probably will do a couple of amateur fights after this where we might even include elbows and knees to the face. Right now, there's no headgear, but we do have shin pads, and you can head kick somebody, but you can't elbow them in the face, and you can't knee them to the face, because it could just boom. If someone in an amateur isn't prepared, bang, one elbow splits the whole face open and their career's over. Not everybody's doing this just for a one fight. They might be wanting to, create a profession out of this. And I can understand why a crushing knee to the face isn't right for someone who doesn't know how to defend themselves necessarily on their first fight. So, and mismatches will happen in amateur leagues as well. So if you don't know much about that, I saw this one live. Watch MVP versus Cyborg. Type that into YouTube. That'll show you what the devastation could happen. And it doesn't happen often in professional fighting because these people know how to defend themselves. So I do, after speaking with the coach, agree with the fact that we don't do elbows and knees in this first fight or amateur fights. But maybe in the other organisations, I know Hex and stuff like that, or Big Hero do, but I'm not sure about the smaller shows. But either way, I would like to do a couple, even though I'm old. And that's purely from the training that I've done. It just shows me that it's not about the fight, winning or losing, it's about the journey. The winning or losing thing is a personal thing, of course. I'm secretly competitive when it comes to this stuff, and hence the reason why I'm embracing it so much. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do it full time at the moment, in between working and studying, which I'll be doing. I've got a new career starting quite soon. But that being said, yeah, I usually immerse myself in things quite, if I'm going to do it, I'll do it properly, and that's what I've done here. So yeah, it's worked well for me. I'm really happy that I've got these training partners that are such a great camaraderie. It's such a great team atmosphere. Everyone's there to help each other. Some of the experienced guys have been coming in and helping us. A lot of them actually, the Train Alta guys, and it's, they're giving up their time for us. So it's a really positive environment, tough environment. We have a small gym, but it's a hard-nosed gym. It's a tough environment, but for me personally, I'm really happy that we're doing it. I mean, it weeds out a lot of people who thought they wanted to fight, but they probably weren't prepared to go through what it takes to actually win a fight. And that's what our coach is preparing us for, to win a fight. He said he doesn't care if we win or lose, but he wants to make sure that we're okay in there and we can defend ourselves, which I feel fully. I feel that's the difference between the old self who used to, get in a street fight and would have gassed in a minute, to the person now. It's not that serious. We have a person helping us in the cage to make sure that we're okay. He's going to stop the fight. What happened? Break a nose? Who cares? You know what I mean? You get it fixed. Knocked out, you wake up, you're okay. The streets are different. You're getting kicked in the face. I've been kicked in the face on the ground. It's not so nice. I've had my face split open a bit. I'm just lucky I haven't woke up, unconscious in hospital, or from being unconscious, saying what. So I'm very thankful for that, and also very thankful for realizing the other side of what fighting can be, which is beautiful violence. And that's how I see it. I see it as an art. That's why it's martial arts. Right now, we're more on the martial side, training for a fight, but after this fight, I will be training things individually, BJJ, wrestling, striking, whether it's boxing, kickboxing, whatever. And I'll be finding, it's pretty hard, this camp, for someone my age. You have to be dialed in. I would find it very hard working full-time and training full-time like this, but yeah, maybe afterwards I do a bit of jiu-jitsu or something where I'm not getting punched in the face as much. But I must say, I do love MMA, so we'll see how that one turns out. I'll definitely be helping my teammates either way, and yeah, just loving the journey, and looking forward to finding out exactly who my opponent is. I'm sure Train Alta will be releasing that quite soon. They'll have the gym name, because they did that for the Sydney version, the gym name and the fighter name. So maybe I'll have a little bit of fun with it as well, because it might be my one and done. We'll see. And half the fun of this is the build up for me. It's obviously the training is going great, and I love the training part. It's not just the fight outcome, it's also what's along in the journey. So much like many things, the journey is the main part. So again, I might have a little bit of fun with it. Whoever it is, whatever your name is, who I'm matched up with, it's not personal. This is for me, to have a bit of fun. Anyway, that'll be it for now, and I'll be giving more updates as training goes on, after training, just shorter ones, but I'll do one of these once a week. All right, cool.